shoot itself by loosening it.
We left off in a previous video doing some more work to the S3. We finally got this thing running how it should be, but during that time we found a couple small little issues that we're going to be fixing today. Now before we go and fix those issues, we're going to jack this thing up and do an oil change. Before we get underneath the car, we got to remove the oil fill cap, and then we can go ahead, get underneath the car and loosen that drain plug. All the oil is now drained out. For the most part, I think it's really dark because this thing was running rich all the time. But we got to put the drain plug back in, but instead of the factory one, I got a new magnetic ECS one. So we're going to pop that back in and take the old oil filter off. Now while we're under here, I thought we'd go ahead and also replace the oil cooler. So we got to remove those two hoses that are connecting to it, and then remove that little lock nut that's on the threads right there, and then we can replace it out. Luckily, I have all new parts. We got a new oil cooler, new gasket, and new lock nut. So let's go ahead and take the old one out. Okay, so we got the old one out now. We got the new one ready to go with the new gasket. The reason I replace this is usually these corrode from the inside out, so the coolant and oil start mixing, which really isn't good. So we got the new one. We're going to chuck this on, put the new oil filter on, and then go ahead and chuck some new oil into the motor. Okay, so new oil cooler now installed. We're going to go ahead and chuck an oil filter on. I like to use man filters because they're OEM. Now we're also going to oil up the seal a little bit with some 10W40 that we're going to be using for the engine. We're just going to put it around the seal. I don't like to put them in dry, otherwise they're not going to get a good seal onto the oil cooler housing. We're also going to be using some 10W40 full synthetic. I don't like using semi-synthetic on these 1.8Ts. So we're going to go ahead and put this filter on. Okay, so we're now screwing the oil filter on nice and tight with our hands. You don't want to do it any tighter than that because the motor itself, when you start it up, actually tightens the oil filter a little bit more. So don't do it any tighter, otherwise you're not going to be able to take it off when you're next to your oil change. So don't make that mistake. Okay, so now that we've done the oil cooler and put the oil filter on and drain the oil, we can go ahead and fill this engine up with oil. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I believe this thing takes about 4.5 liters. So we're going to pretty much put this whole entire thing into the car, seeing as I got 5 liters here. And then we'll see how we go. Oh. Okay, so we filled it up about 4.5 liters. We're going to go ahead and start the car up for a little bit and then turn it off and then see if we need to fill it up anymore. Okay, so we've turned it off. We're going to go ahead and let the car settle for a second and let the oil go back down into the sump. And then we'll check the oil level again and see if we're all good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and check our oil level now. Looks like we're pretty much bang on, just right where the top of the textured part of the dipstick is. So that's all good on that part. Now that that's all done, we're going to go ahead and write that down for the time, the date, and the mileage that the car actually had when I did the oil change, so we know when to do it next. Now to show you the issues that we're actually having with this car, I got to take this intercooler piping off first, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that that's removed, I can show you this exhaust manifold. Now there's nothing necessarily wrong with the exhaust manifold itself, but the fact that there's actually no heat shield there. And because the heat shield's not there, it's actually heating up enough now that we actually are creating boost, that we're melting the timing belt cover. Now, luckily, it's just melted the timing cover so far and not actually touched the timing belt itself. So I actually haven't driven this car since we last drove it in the previous video because I really didn't want to risk snapping that timing belt or melting it off and blowing my whole engine. I definitely don't want to have to rebuild an engine after I've only owned this car for maybe 2 months now. So we're going to be actually making a heat shield for it out of this heat shield stuff. It's the first time I've ever done something like this, so I guess we're both learning right now. I thought I'd just show you guys the timing case just real quick. You can see that it's actually melted all on the top there, and we've actually ended up melting pretty much all from all the way down to where my finger is. That whole part is now missing. So I'm really glad I caught this before I actually destroyed my engine. Okay, so the game plan for the heat shield, I've just put these bolts into the rock cover, and then we're going to measure the distance between all of them, and then I'm going to set my heat shield down, and we're going to measure and put out the same measurement onto the heat shield and drill the holes where the bolts need to go, and then we're going to cut out what we need to fit around the exhaust manifold down on the bottom. We might need to cut a bit of a notch out in the middle so we can actually put our exhaust sensor onto it. Okay, so we've just tapped some holes into the heat shield. I actually don't have a drill on me, so we're going to use an impact and some self-tappers for now, and then we're going to go ahead and drill these self-tappers into the heat shield so we can open up these holes. We've got our heat shield, we've put the 3 holes into it where the bolts need to go, and we've measured from the top down to the bottom about 330 mils. I measured on the rocker cover where these bolts are down to the bottom of the exhaust manifold with our tape measure, and I measured about 290 mils. So I've just given myself a bit more extra room just in case we need a little bit more, because I can always cut more, but I can't cut less and then add more on later. So we've got our measurements, we're going to cut that off, and then we're going to see where we need to cut a little notch out for our exhaust sensor that's on the back of the exhaust manifold. So let's go ahead and cut this off. Okay, so we've got our heat shield, we've just cut off that end bit, and we're going to now measure. I'm just going to put this hard against the edge of the rocker cover right now because I measured that to this bolt here. We are going to sort of eye where that sensor is, and we can sort of just leave a mark right about in the middle of that, right there, and then we're just going to make a little notch sort of cut so it can wrap around that sensor. Okay, so we've got our measurement, we've just sort of eyed it right there for the sensor, so we're going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, so our notch is now cut out, we can go ahead and try to test fit this heat shield. Okay, looks like we need to cut this notch out a little bit more further down because it's not going any further down and I'm well off those bolts. So let's cut this out a bit more. Okay, test 2, we've got a bigger notch cut out now, so let's see if it fits over the center and see if we can actually get close to fitting these bolts on. We're getting closer. I think we need to go a little bit more than we are at the moment, and then I think we're pretty sweet on putting these bolts in. Okay, third time's a charm. We got the notch cut out a little bit more, so we've got more clearance, and I think that's it. Looks pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and cut a little notch out just right here so it clears this little block that usually holds probably the factory heat shield, or I think it might also be for another intercooler pipe mount, but that's also missing off of mine. So we're gonna cut around this little notch a little bit on here so it can sit flush against the rocker cover, and then we can wrap the rest around the exhaust manifold. Okay, so I think we've got a pretty good base idea for the heat shield. I'm going to probably clean up these edges that you can see on the lip here, and then we can go ahead and install it. Okay, so that's now all installed. We're now just waiting on a new timing belt cover, so I'll see you guys in the morning when we get that.
The oldies love that one.
Alright, so it's the next day. We picked up a new timing belt cover. Thank you, Mateo, I appreciate it. We're heading to the shed now to go pick up the S3, and we'll put this on, and then we're gonna go head out for a cruise. So it's the next day. We got a new timing belt cover, so we're gonna go ahead and chuck this on right now. Okay, so now that the timing belt cover is all installed, we can go ahead and put the hoses back on and the intercooler pipe back. So let's do that. Okay, so now that everything's back together, looking really good, we're gonna head out here because I think my mate just sprung himself a coolant leak. What's the news, Mateo?
Huh?
What's the news?
We blew a hose.
I don't know if you can see. Basically, hose just down there on the other end has blown and is just leaking coolant everywhere.
No, fuck that. I'll have that back.
It is excusable because this thing does have 351,000 Ks on it, but yeah, not ideal because we were just about to head out for a cruise and it sprung itself a leak. But we've got a new hose here.
But we don't know if this is going to fit.
Yeah,
to
we'll
be
try
honest,
this out.
But,
I reckon it'll work.
yeah, we're going to make it work.
Want to make it work? We've got some coolant. Let's try this.
Yeah,
out.
look at that. It's not gonna shoot itself by loosening it.
Okay, well that's done. Okay, so this is the old hose that we just replaced. Obviously, it's pretty well gone. It's pretty dry and rotted, so no wonder why this thing was leaking. Luckily, it leaked just in front of the shed, so we're all good, but we're gonna fill this thing up with coolant now and maybe go for a drive. Okay, I think we're ready to get going. I'm gonna go out for a bit of a cruise, so let's start this thing up. We also need to get some fuel, so we're pretty much empty. Okay, so we got fuel, all the boys are out. We got the S3 out, FG Falcon, Mk4 GTI, another S3 which is these, Mk4 GTI, and E46 Vert. Let's head out. Okay, we're all just parking up right now. We're just stopping over at Macca's to get some quick food because I'm starving, so let's go get some food. Alrighty, let's get going. Just pulled over to double check everything's still good. Our boost pipes are not come off, and the heat shield seems to be doing its job because before this intercooler pipe got really hot, too hot to even touch, and it's pretty cool now. So that heat shield is definitely working and doing its job. So I'm pretty happy with that. And this car is absolutely amazing to drive. It's driving so good. It's boosting well, and it's so fun to drive. So we're gonna go head back out and keep driving. Crazy seeing two S3s in the same spot. It's absolutely amazing, but we're gonna go ahead and give this thing a car wash. I'm sorry if this video didn't really make any sense. I've tried to just enjoy today and enjoy driving the car and hanging out with my mates. I didn't want to really put the camera in their face too much, but I'm gonna go ahead, wash this thing and head home. Looking all clean now. This thing looks pretty good. We've got a bit of a construction site going on here. I don't know what's happened. We've got tools out. What happened?
Just the lug nuts.
Just the lug nuts. You're checking if they're tight.
They may or may not be loose on them.
Yeah, right.
So we're just checking them.
Well, Steve. Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely fine.
Rolly. So good to see this idle is just completely flat. No vacuum leaks, no issues. It's just good. I'm so happy with this car, man. And all the lights work. No more flashing lights. It's just good.
Just good.
It's just good.
It's just good.
It's driving good. It's boosting good. It's fast. I could not be any more happier with this car. This very S3. This is the car that made me want to buy one myself. And I'm so glad I met Steve and got to drive this thing, because ever since I drove that car, I was absolutely hooked, and it made me really, really, really want one. And I finally own one, and it's absolutely amazing. If you got a chance to get an S3, go get one. They're a bit expensive on the maintenance side, and they all need it, but absolutely worth it. But he's gonna have to head home now. He got a 3-hour trip back home, so we're gonna video him going off.
I gotta go.
Easy. Okay, so it's the next day. There was one other little thing that I really wanted to replace, and you guys might know if you watched the previous video. I got a new light switch for the car, because on this car we have soft touch trims, and over time they start looking like this, which really doesn't look good. So luckily it's not that hard to take out. Pull out this one and sort of unplug it from there, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so we got the old one off. As you can tell, it's pretty cruddy and pretty broken, so we're going to go ahead, replace out the old one with the new one, and then chuck it in and go take this car out for a drive. Okay, so as you guys just saw, the S3 is finally running and driving as it should be, and is ready for some mods. So make sure to give me some ideas in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more content like this. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.